There again. My name is John, and I am a nobody. I've only toured in Hungary twice. The first time was with my first band, and the second time was with Fatal Shore, but that's another story. The first time was very weird because it was still behind the Iron Curtain, and they hadn't had a rock band play there since Spencer Davis Group in 1967. So we were the first band to actually be allowed into communist Hungary. But we were only allowed to play in the morning because the Spencer Davis Group had played in a stadium in the evening and the fans had trashed the stadium. So we started playing at 10 a.m. in the morning, which was weird. And the whole experience was very strange. We were supposed to be the support band for a Hungarian band called P-Mobile, who did more traditional rock stuff. We were more like a post-punk band. Everything was very fast, played really fast, and a new wave style. We were dressed in, for them, strange clothes. And we went on stage at 10 a.m. in the morning. The first two gigs were in the Hungarian capital, Budapest. And the first day we played, the audience, which was mostly young girls, was sussing out which band member they liked the most. On the second gig we did, also in the morning, they decided who they liked the most, and it was the closest I've ever come to being in the Beatles, because it was absurd. You just heard screaming, and then as we came on from the right of the stage, I was the last one to come on. And to hear your name, John, 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 being screamed by, loads of teenage girls was bizarre. I made the mistake of moving to the front of the stage and having my trouser leg grabbed by some girls, trying to pull me into the audience. I never went to the front of the stage again. At the front, there were some security guys who were not dressed in uniforms, and they had no badges or lanyards like they do today. But some of them had big sticks, and they were just whacking these young girls. It was sick to see. At the back, they had a balcony, and on the balcony, they had the Secret Service with big old-fashioned tape recorders recording everything that you said or played. We'd had to send in information about the band and our material, so they'd heard that all before, but they were just checking to make sure everything was okay. It was frightening. The drummer got pepper sprayed on his way in to this first gig because he was wearing, I don't know, a leather jacket or something. They didn't like him, and they pepper sprayed him. It was just bizarre. We went on tour with P-Mobile in a coach, a big bus, and they had a communist guy sitting at the front who everybody hated, and we'd all throw peanuts at the back of his head, and he'd turn around to look, and we'd be all looking out the window. It was just bizarre. I met some Hungarians who admitted to having weapons from the Second World War concealed under their floorboards, ready for the uprising, which, never came, not the violent uprising. And I have a lot of sympathy for the Hungarians. I mean, they've been under the yoke of the Ottoman Turks for centuries, as Muslims had attempted to take over Europe by force, and it was not pleasant for them. you know, the Ottoman Empire, I had to look this up, lasted from 301 to 1922. So it's a long time. And it's a long time for a country's history and memory, historical memory, to deal with that kind of input into their country. I'm not into gods, I'm not into cars, but they had a lot of larders there when I first went. That was the big difference. The first time I went there, the streets were mostly empty of cars. The only cars you saw were larders, which had been made in Hungary under license. They were basically Fiats, a copy of Fiat. The second time I went there, after the Iron Curtain was no longer in existence, we had problems finding a parking space. It was so full of cars. That was, to me, the big difference. The empty streets and then the busy streets full of cars. Very bizarre. We toured Hungary. We went to Lake Balaton, which is in the south, and it was just very strange for us because it was an exchange of bands. So when P-Mobile came to Holland, they seemed to be quite happy, you know, even though they were not playing in big stadiums. They were playing in youth clubs like we were, but they were living in the red light area of Amsterdam. So they were surrounded by Western decadents, prostitutes and, you know, drugs and sex shops, and they could buy as much whiskey as they wanted. Everything seemed to turn out for them quite fine. We were allowed to use their equipment, which was great. So flying into Budapest itself on Aeroflot might have been a bit of an experience, but everything turned out fine in the end and nobody died. So I wanted to share that with you, and I hope you enjoyed that. And take care of yourself and those you love. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Tschüssikowski.